Hi, I'm Chef Gordon Rader from Indian Hills Community College, and today we're talking a little bit about wine basics, some wine 101 if you will. Fascinating subject, a huge subject, but certainly something near and dear to my heart. We teach a basic wine class 2 terms out of the year, and then we have classes open to the public where we actually do some wine and food pairings and wine and cheese pairings and talk about some basic steps to understanding wine. Great subject, and more people in this country than ever before are in tune with wine and pairing wine with food and getting an optimum experience from their dining table. To me, as a professional chef, and to our students as they graduate, it's very important that we know some basics. So I'd like to share some of those things with you tonight. Probably most of you are familiar with some of these basic vitis vinifera varieties. There's 9 wines in particular that are the cornerstone of what we drink. Some would be Pinot Gris or Pinot Grigio, a Chardonnay, Sauvignon Blanc, Merlot, Cabernet Sauvignon, a Pinot Noir, a Malbec, Zinfandel, and I'm sure all of us have had an experience with Zinfandel, as in the 80s it was ubiquitous and coming out of California in huge boxes. Didn't taste very good, but everybody was drinking it. So another point to gain some understanding about wine is Old World wines versus New World wines. Old World wines, if you look on the label, it's all based on region. So it wouldn't say anything about the grapes per se, but there's information about the region. It could be the Loire Valley, it could be Burgundy or Bordeaux or Beaujolais or Champagne, whereas New World wines, Chile, Argentina, California, the name of the grape varietal will be on the grape that was used to make the wine. So a Chardonnay is a Chardonnay, a Cabernet Sauvignon is a Cabernet Sauvignon. Terroir is an interesting term which relates to the area in which the grape was grown. A lot of emphasis is placed on the terroir, specifically in France, and that creates the difference in the wines. Old World wines, I always say, are more minerally, a little bit more sophisticated, a little more adult-like, whereas the wines in California, let's say, are a lot more fruity, fruit-forward wines, which is not a bad thing. They both have their place, and it's all about really ultimately what you like. It shouldn't be what somebody tells you you like, but you need to do the experimentation and actually sit down with a bottle, have it with your meal, and see what works. And physiologically, your tastes change every 7 years. So the things that you liked when you were a kid versus now, are 2 totally different things. When I was 17, I didn't like blue cheese, and I certainly didn't like Cabernet Sauvignon. Now that I'm hitting 50, those are 2 things that are joys for me. So you notice over the years how things change philosophically, physiologically. Your music tastes change, your art appreciation change, and that's good, as it should be. So one of my favorite basic whites, and this one's from New Zealand. It's a Wither Hills Sauvignon Blanc 2007 vintage. So there at the top, very easy information to follow. The estate, the grape, and the vintage year. That was the year that the grape was harvested. And then the area from which it came, where the grapes are grown, Marlborough. This particular grape, also known as a Fumé Blanc, originally came from the Sancerre and Loire Valley area of France. It grows really well in New Zealand. It grows great in California, and it's a very herbaceous, tart, citric wine. There's that herbaceous grass-like quality. Hay, for example, when you open the bottle and let it breathe a little bit and pour it into your glass, that's one of the first things you're going to get, with a strong lemony citrus finish. That's going to go really well with oysters, cold fresh oysters in particular, on the half shell, lobster, and that can be a cold lobster salad, or it can be a warm lobster in some type of sauce, scallops, any kind of white fish, any kind of fish for that matter, but whitefish in particular. It's great with that. It's just a great complement to those particular items. And it's one thing to drink the wine by itself, but it's totally another, adds another dimension to the meal when you pair it up with food. Another wine that's a lot of fun, and this is from Italy. It's Mezzacarona is the estate, and this is a Pinot Grigio. This particular wine in France is grown from Pinot Gris grapes, and Italy has taken those grapes and done something totally different. This is very tart as well, a lot more citrus, lemon, lime, some toronja, which is grapefruit. Really good with chicken, and it can go really well with chicken and the cream sauce, and at the same time could go with something a little spicy, maybe an eggplant dish with a red sauce and a little bit of maybe a diavolo with some red pepper in it. The acid in there really cuts through and creates a nice balance and flavor profile on the tongue. One of the things that we always talk about is how does the flavor get to be so profound when you pair the two things together, the wine and the food. In the instance of a red wine, where there's a lot of tannin from the pulp, from the skin of the grape, that creates this astringency, and this is something you find in coffees and teas as well. When you drink the wine, it actually cleanses the tongue. It strips all the matter from the tongue, and so when you come back and eat another bite of food, you're getting the full force flavor from the food, and there's nothing there to dilute it. And that's why you have such an incredible experience when you actually, and this requires you to really think. You know, you need to slow down and actually chew your food and actually think about what it is that we're eating. And this is a difficult challenge for most Americans, because we're used to eating in 5 minutes and then moving on to the next project. But I think if you take the time to actually sit down and take a bottle of wine, invite some friends over or your family, and create an environment. You know, you want to spend a couple hours at the table, which is actually really good, really healthy for you, both mentally, physically, and spiritually. It creates a great environment of education and learning, and makes the day a little bit more interesting. Because we have a lot of problems, we have a lot of time constraints. We should take time to enjoy. Life's short, it goes by quick, and we need to take all the time that we can to savor those great moments with family and friends. So this is the first installment. I think that we're going to add to this as we go, and certainly I'm looking forward to some of your critiques on this particular video, and I'm enjoying the class with you folks and some of the projects that you're presenting to me as well. So have a great afternoon, and thanks for viewing.